All right, I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Shaftsbury Select Board. It's a regular meeting for January 7th, 2013. We began meeting, it's now 7:30, we began meeting at 5 o'clock in a work session to develop the budget for fiscal year 2014. That begins July 1. We're making a lot of progress on the budget. We've had a lot of homework done by the town administrator, Margie Becker, and the fire chief, Joe Vatican, and the road foreman and road superintendent, Terry Stacy. We've made a lot of progress. We hope to be able to announce a budget sometime in the next 2 weeks. We're doing our utmost to try to limit the impact of any change in spending and taxes on the taxpayer, because we plan to put forward to the town at the town meeting a request for approval of a bond so that we can replace the existing town garage, which is over 50 years old and has a number of deficiencies and problems. We've been working very hard on this budget, knowing that in 2014 and 15 we may have an additional expense if the voters approve the bond for the financing relating to building the garage facility and all that encompasses. So that's what we've been doing until this point, and now we'll start the regular portion of the meeting. Announcements, Craig?
None.
Karen?
No.
Okay. Margie?
No.
Okay. Other than what I've just mentioned, I've got nothing else. Does any member of the public wish to make any comment on any item not appearing on the agenda? There being none, does any member of the board have a conflict of interest with any item on the agenda?
No.
No.
Okay. So the first order of business, and I have no conflicts of interest tonight. The first order of business is with us is MSK Engineering, Jim Secor and Jeff Goldstone. They've contracted with the town to do phase 1 of the planning, design, and engineering work that's going to lead to the presentation of what we hope to get approval from the town at town meeting. So Jim, if you and Jeff want to take over.
Sure.
And anything I can do to help you, let me know.
My name's Jim Secor, MSK Engineering.
Go ahead.
Right in front of your head here.
Yeah, go right ahead.
You want to hold it? What we're proposing tonight to the select board is for the new highway facility to be constructed up at the landfill site. Presently, the recycling center here and the capped landfill is here. Of course, North Road is here and Airport Road. The site would be accessed off of North Road, just being off of the existing driveway, and that'll come down to this area, which is a flat plateau area that's pre-existing. Be looking at a new gated and fenced area for protection. Be the main facility here, which is just approximately 9,000 square feet for offices, break room, and vehicle maintenance and storage. The salt shed that's 50 by 60 feet, double bin to allow for the salt to be kept under cover and mixed. And then a pole barns type structure for cold storage, which is 80 feet by 50 feet with a small 10-foot lean-to addition on the side. That's going to also accommodate the water department's large storage, piping, etc. Be serviced by an on-site septic system and an on-site well. Looking at conventional construction for the buildings, shingled roofs, metal siding on the outside storage buildings, concrete horizontal siding for the main building. As far as the building construction itself, for the main facility, which is probably the most expensive, needless to say, we're looking at a 50-foot deep area here, which will give 4 deep truck bays. Be a small mezzanine area for storage, mechanical space, compressors. That'll also accommodate storage for the miscellaneous items that the town has, record storage, etc. And also voting, I believe we're going to also be able to segregate in there. Small repair area here for the large vehicles for Terry. Then a smaller truck bay, 3 bays worth for the smaller transportation vehicles. Offices for the road crew, break room, meeting room, training room, bathroom, and then a small office for the water department. Building construction, we're looking at 18-foot clear heights for this section, 16-foot for this section. We're looking at in-floor radiant, gas-fired heating systems, conventional wood frame construction with wood trusses, looking at horizontal concrete siding that will be able to last with minimal maintenance, and then again a shingle roof to blend everything back in. Any questions from the board?
So Jim, just for the sake of the audience, the wood construction that we've chosen to go with is the least expensive over prefabricated or pre-engineered?
Based on the size of the building, which is just slightly under 9,000 square feet, we can go to conventional construction, which is wood frame. This gives us 2 savings. One is we can insulate it a lot better, air seal it better for more energy savings. But also the wood construction in this type of building we see is coming in cheaper than even pre-engineered metal buildings. One problem with pre-engineered is we can't get the good insulation qualities that we can see out of the wood construction. The other benefit to the wood construction, it's something that's easily can be repaired by the town crew versus having to bring an outside contractor in. One concern on wood, of course, is salt and water that you're going to see because of this type of use. We're going to design this so we can put a stem wall around the perimeter and interior walls, so it's going to be exposed to block or concrete, so we won't have that concern. We've also looked at conventional construction with structural steel and infills, and that again kicks us up another order of magnitude in construction costs, as well as scheduling.
What type of difference do we have in effective life of the building going between wood and either of the steel type?
Wood construction, you guys can maintain it properly as long, this is going to be designed for humidity control, for ventilation, so they snow melt issues. It's also going to have a stem wall, so we shouldn't see rot problems. Your crew can maintain it properly. As long as it's maintained, you can get 30, 40, 50, 60 years out of this building. Conventional, pre-engineered steel, we're looking at a 20 to 25 lifespan. If we go into the next higher modem, you're going to increase the life expectancy, but I think with the maintenance that the crews can do, as well as a high magnitude of cost increase, this is the best bang for the buck for the town.
You know, Jim, one of the things, and we've certainly discussed it in a lot of our meetings, but because, again, we're on camera and some people may be hearing about this, just now, in fact. One of the concerns initially had been where we're citing this. Can you speak at all to the lay of the land there, and in terms of the proximity to the actual landfill hill, and some concerns that people may have in terms of safety issues, water issues, that kind of thing?
Presently, we looked at that probably almost a year ago now. I mean, the main cap landfill is on this area. The predominant, you're not getting any hits from the monitoring wells down on Airport Road, which is showing us that the migration of any issues are not going across this section of the property. Town already owns the property. You're consolidating now the water department, which already has facilities on this land, the recycling center as well. One concern that keeps coming up as well, we're going to have a problem with the well. Well, you've got the wells in this area haven't had hits, but even if we do get hits, that won't close the facility down.
Can you describe what a hit means?
Oh, I'm sorry. Any contamination in the water supply that doesn't make it potable anymore. The state does have language in the regulations that allow, say we do have a problem that somebody's concerned that they don't want to drink the water, bubblers can be installed in the site and the facility still can be used with no adverse health effects.
Other questions? Anything you want to bring up,
Terry,
Lauren?
Jim, could you just explain, you said the salt chip, but it's really dual use, you said it a little bit quickly, about sand and salt.
Oh, I'm sorry. One thing that gives, this building will give the capability for the town now is raw salt can be brought in, can be mixed on the site, and it can be stored undercover, which you're not now. It also has a loading area that will prevent any migration of the salt, sand mixtures from getting into the groundwater or from flowing off site, which is a requirement of the stormwater management plans that have been mandated by the state of Vermont. Presently now, the salt pile is just left out to the raw elements, both contamination because of water that are probably affecting the amount of usage you're getting out of that pile, plus there is potential for water as well as off-site contamination because of the salt contents.
But there'll be a sand component with this shed, so we'll have sand undercover.
Correct. Both, this is designed so you can accommodate both the sand and the salt in that building as well as the mixed product.
You didn't mention, I think it'd be a good thing to mention about the self-efficiency of this building once we get it underway for electric and everything.
Oh, with the radiant flooring? you mean?
Oh,
With
yeah,
the photovoltaic panels?
With the panels.
we're exploring the possibility of some photovoltaics, both with the mechanical and electrical engineers and what kind of incentives may be available. We're not sure yet what those may be in the payback analysis, but we are evaluating that as part of the estimate that we'll be doing for the town. As far as the insulation quality of this building, you're looking at in-floor radiant, insulated slabs, you're looking at a wall design that'll be in the R21 plus design, fully encapsulated with rigid insulation for air sealing. We're looking at an R40 to an R60 roof assembly. This thing's gonna be better than houses we used to build even just a couple of years ago, to be quite honest. It's gonna be very energy efficient for the town in the long run.
And Jim, in terms of the site development itself, it seems to be in terms of the property, there seem to be a lot of opportunities for us to use our own crew in terms of some of the site work.
Correct, and we've
To
been
help keep
working
the
with.
costs down?
Yep, we've been working with Terry on that. We're looking that the town can self-perform the clearing, the access road installation, rough grading of the site, so we can hand it over to a contractor to plus or minus 12 inches. So when they are coming in and ready to build, the site's gonna be cleaned and ready for them, and it's gonna save a good chunk of change for the town. Yep. And one good thing, everything you guys take off that site, you're gonna use someplace else. It's all gravels. God knows, I think you've already got a number of sites you wanna move it to before we even get started, so, yeah.
And also, another thing people might be concerned about, because there's a lot of folks that use the transfer station, in terms of the dual access, as we're coming in that entrance, you see a way of designing that so we can accommodate.
As part of the project, the
both
access
uses.
road's gonna be widened, so there's gonna be at least 3 lanes of, theoretically, 3 vehicles could be stacked up in width. It's gonna have its own driveway in, the only thing that's gonna be utilized is the curb cut. So there won't be any adverse impact to the folks using the transfer station, or the people who are there even waiting. Terry's crews can still get access to the site.
And then, Jim, some people may want to compare this to buildings that were built a year or so ago and the costs involved. And they may not understand that the state's adopted a new set of energy regulations.
Yeah.
So could you explain a little bit about the new regulatory environment we're dealing with?
You guys got lucky. We got a new energy code and a new building code all at the end of last year. So there's fire regulations on the building that now weren't there even last year. For example, I think Wilmington built a building similar to your building. We have to put a firewall in now that they didn't have to. But in the long run, it works out well because it allows us to segregate the internal uses so we can heat it and cool it separately. Ventilate it separately. So in the long run, it's really not an adverse impact to the building. Energy code wise, if this had come up to me 5 years ago when I was still doing construction, when we used to build metal buildings, I'd tell you to do is a metal building. Now, we can't build the metal buildings like that because of the energy code requirements. And that's now kicked us up a notch on these smaller buildings, that it's more cost efficient to go to the standard construction practices versus the pre-engineered construction. But in the long run, it's gonna pay to the town because you're gonna save it in your energy usage down the road.
You've mentioned the, the energy savings relating to, the efficiencies, insulation and that sort of thing. Are we looking to install equipment that the actual heating and cooling equipment itself will be energy efficient?
Oh, of course. We're looking at propane heat, that we're looking at efficiency ratings in the 90+%. Ventilation system will be done with a heat recovery ventilator. So we're gonna recapture the heating side when we're ventilating out the high moisture content in the wintertime. And like I said, we're looking at 4 inches of rigid insulation under a slab for a radiant floor. A few years ago, we used to put 4 feet of 2-inch around the perimeter, and that was it. So yeah, there's gonna be a lot of components both. And you're looking at T5 energy efficient lighting that will get rebates back from Efficiency Vermont on. Exterior lighting will be all LEDs. We won't be looking at metal halide fixtures like we used to in the old days. Again, that'll be rebatable back from Efficiency Vermont as well. So we'll be working hand in hand with the Efficiency Vermont folks as far as when this goes forward, if it goes forward, hopefully, to the construction phase.
And this, I mean, obviously one of the real goals of this whole project is to be sure that all of the equipment that the taxpayers have been investing in for years now will be undercover
And everything
and
will-
protected.
Yep, as well as it gives yard storage for Terry for the miscellaneous components that he doesn't have to have undercover. As a matter of fact, I drove in today and I couldn't even get through with all the trucks sitting in the driveway.
Right, yeah, yep, yep. Okay.
Great, thank you very much, Jim.
So just in terms of our schedule, as far, we'll have a presentation, there'll be another presentation, when is it, later this month, is that, am I right, or February, the end of?
We have-
You've got the schedule, I haven't got
Yeah.
I have a schedule,
Yep.
but the homework for the board tonight is to come to consensus that what Jim has presented in general is sufficient for him to move forward for cost estimating
We need to get the
purposes
construction cost estimating done, so it'll be
Right.
ready for you folks for the
by the
next round of
25th.
meetings. Yep.
Drop dead. Now, we have a couple of issues, though.
There was one question from the audience regarding.
Okay.
Oh, he did, okay.
Can we just, Jeff is here too. I mean, I think it'd be good to introduce Jeff Goldstone, who's the architect on this job. He's a local,
Thank you.
one of our wonderful local guys.
I don't have a lot more to add. Sorry.
No, it's all right, I'm happy to.
I don't have a lot more to add about the building. Jim picked up most of the elements of the building design that we're talking about. If there are any questions, I'm happy to address those. The one question that did come up was the question about the photovoltaics, the PVs. Let me just add a little bit about that, because I did have conversations with a photovoltaic engineer and installer recently regarding this, as well as with our mechanical engineer. And some of that took place before and some after I met with the board most recently.
Okay.
So to clarify what Jim started to say and what the question I think was addressing, we, at this point, don't believe the photovoltaics are likely to be able to serve as to offset the entire heating cost of the building. The reason for that has to do with the technical ability of the heat pumps that the photovoltaics would be driving. That is not to say, however, that the photovoltaics would not be something we would recommend or we would like you to consider and we might look at as a design option or a construction option based upon their costs. So we're going to move ahead on that front. But they would be offsetting whatever the electrical loads are, whether or not the electrical loads include the full heating load. But we would think at this point of designing for a propane system, propane fired system. Other electrical loads would be the lighting, the welding, the ventilation loads, any miscellaneous electrical loads on the site. Those potentially can be offset by a photovoltaic system, which would be properly sized to offset up to 100% of your electrical loads. And those would be placed flip this around just for a moment. We only have one building that's oriented in a manner that would be appropriate for photovoltaics, and that's the storage shed. So if we go forward with that, we would design the roof of the storage shed with the proper angles to accommodate the photovoltaic system.
So what was that limiting factor again, the heat pumps?
Right, the heat pumps are actually what we initially discussed as providing the hot water for the heating system, okay? Heat pumps are an electrical device, but they're a very efficient electrical device. Our mechanical engineers advised us that the liability of that particular system is that it can't produce enough heat fast enough unless we go to a lot of them, you know, and then the cost is not appropriate, is not. Now, this engineering is not complete. We won't have a complete engineering as part of phase one, but for our cost estimating purposes, we're moving forward with the propane, the high efficiency propane system that Jim was talking about, and the photovoltaics would be to offset the electrical loads beyond that. I intend to meet with both of these people more as we move forward with the project.
Sure.
But that's where we have to be for the short term.
Okay. Thanks.
And Jim, we've included security as part of the plan.
Correct.
Could you mention a little bit about that?
We're looking at a number of components. First element's going to be a slide security gate here. That'll be, you have to have key control or password control to get onto the site. We're also looking at camera systems on the main areas here and on the buildings, and of course any secure components around the building. And as another option, we're exploring a security system for the main facility itself. And we'll price those out, and we can also put those out as bid alternates if something that wants to be added as part of the project. As well as the campus lighting, it'll be on motion sensors, so if somebody comes onto the site, the lights are automatically going to come on, and that usually is a pretty good deterrent. And it also notifies, you know, if somebody's driving by and the lights are on in the middle of the night and it's not snowing, well, maybe you want to call and somebody should go up and check on it. So there's a number of different components on the security that we're going to be putting into the package as well.
Great. Questions? Yeah.
I appreciate the presentation. How else are you going to present this? Do you plan on something in town meeting?
Well, we're planning on two things. One, because it's a bond, we're required to have an informational meeting, and that'll be approximately a week before town meeting. And then we're going to have a second presentation at town meeting. So we hope that we'll Jim and Jeff and Jason, if he's available, present at least twice before the vote on town meeting Tuesday.
If I can suggest that you have a handout printed out, because, well, they've been, town meetings historically drag on to the nitty-gritty of the stuff that doesn't really come, and by the time you get down to the business of the town, people are ready to go home. They're not gonna wanna stay after. This presentation should be early in the meeting, more supplemented with a good handout, which might even be given to the auditors to be sent out with the town report.
That's a great idea. It's really a great idea. We'll do that. Any other questions or suggestions?
Mr. Chair, how would you like to handle, MSK has just a few questions to clarify, I think,
Okay.
before you have, there are just a couple items, right, Jim? Height of,
No, I think I'm all set to go
you're-
ahead with the estimate.
for the estimate,
But I might,
okay.
I'm gonna, when we get into the numbers, I may run it a couple of different scenarios on a couple of the buildings.
There you
So
go.
the board can take a look at it before the numbers are finalized.
Sounds good.
Yep. But I think we've got enough, if the board's fine with the size of the buildings, type of construction, you know, the use areas,
Yeah.
you know, a couple walls move around, it's not gonna make any difference.
Okay.
That'll be enough for allow us to go ahead and start doing the construction estimates.
Excellent.
And Terry, you've had an opportunity to review this plan?
Oh, yeah.
And
We all met
the office space and all
3rd.
that is improved space?
There's gonna be a little shuffling around. Yeah,
Okay, good.
terrific. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for making great progress. Really appreciate it.
Yep.
Okay. Joe Vatican can't be with us tonight, so I would ask the board's permission to put the fire department radio.
Can I make a point, which is that Jerry Madison is here, and Jerry has a lot of information about it. I don't know, might be worth just asking him.
Okay.
He and I talked about it today, so he's very familiar, I think, with what the issue is.
Okay.
So just to kind of keep things on
track.
so we could move, yeah.
Move the issue.
Jerry, we were just getting into the conversation about the radios. Joe can't be here tonight, and I'm suggesting that because you know what's going on, you might want to present the issue to the board.
I can
You talk into the mic?
give you kind of my understanding of what's going on. We're having gaps in our paging.
Talk to the mic.
Talk to the mic. Mike, how are you? As I understand it, and we met with Wells on Thursday of this past week, there's two issues. With the narrow banding, that limits our radio coverage up to 20%. So where we had dead spots before, they're worse, and we've encountered a few more dead spots due to the narrow banding, which was mandated by the state to have done to our radios, which we've had done. That's one issue, and then we're having a paging issue of dead spots with the pager. We're not sure whether that is on our side yet or the state side. We're thinking it might have something to do with what the state has done here at the barracks. So we have the state radio guy checking into the state side of things, and then also our radio guy checking into our equipment here, which he tested Thursday, and it tested out fine. It's the link between the two, or how they communicate between the two, is the other issue.
Now, Joe wrote a lengthy email that said that the provider of the radios anticipated that there were going to be this kind of problem because they have run into that with other departments.
Even the state's faced with it. The state has found that they've had
this
gaps.
is a
I mean,
statewide issue.
It's a national issue, actually. In narrow banding, it focuses the frequency to think of a flashlight with a wide beam and narrowing it down to a pinpoint. And what that did, it allowed the FCC to open up more licenses for more frequencies in between the frequencies that are already out there. So in doing so, it narrowed them up so much. Instead of having a big coverage area, now it's really focused. There's a number of different things that we can try to do to resolve some of the dead spots, enlarging or changing out the type of antennas we use, enlarging or modifying our current antenna here at the firehouse. That's kind of at the low end, all the way up to go into a repeater system, which is applying for another frequency, 2 channels, and upgrading our equipment. Our base station is designed to be a repeater, so it's not like we'd have to buy new equipment. They could retrofit what we have. But that's at the high end of the cost, yeah. So right now they're doing Wells is going to do a site survey to determine what our coverage area was before narrow banding and what it is now, so we can see where the dead spots are. And then I imagine they'll recommend a list of things that we try to do.
Is the road department seeing the same issues?
I haven't had a chance to talk to Terry about it yet to see if they are or not.
That was my question too. Because they're all narrow banded now too.
Right.
Yeah.
I
Haven't
mean,
heard
all
any
the surrounding
complaints
towns have had the same issues. You know, it's our hardest spot is the west side of town, Shaftsbury Hollow. It's getting over that knoll. So whether Bennington Rescue at one time was going to put an antenna at Whitman's to try and solve that problem. Instead, they went up and they redid something at Mount Anthony and did it that way. There's a number of different options. We're kind of at the beginning phase of how do we tackle this that's, you know, affordable and gets the job done. Communications are key. Everybody knows that. The paging right now is our main concern, because not getting the page, you don't know that we have a call. So I put the state radio guy in contact with our radio guy, and they're supposed to meet and work out to see what's missing or what got changed or what the issue is there.
But Jerry you did seem to think that coincided with the work that they did. Remember when we approved the new tower at the
Yeah, I mean, they
barracks?
did the VCOM tower installation at the barracks, whether
Yeah.
that had something to do with it, I mean, it could have.
Mm-hmm.
The state, they should be able to, come up
Figure
with
that
that pretty
out.
quick, yeah. Yeah. The guy from the state seemed more than happy to help us out to see what the problem was.
Was there any ideas ballpark what these fixes may cost? I mean, the low and high, and I know they're
Well, you
estimates.
can, in talking with Mike Manning, was kind of in charge of the whole VCOM thing, they were running little shark fin antennas on their cars, on the state cars, just a little thing, looks like a dorsal fin of a shark
Right.
on the back. They were pretty much useless after they went narrowbanded, so they had to go to a 3-foot antenna. Some have boosters in them. There's 5-foot antennas, so you're looking at the basic, I think, 2 or 3-foot antenna might be $50. And where it's located on the vehicle makes a big difference too. It should be a 3-foot ground plate underneath it, all the way around it, so it should be on the roof and have something around it, the height of the antenna, wide. Up to, I mean, I don't know what repeater systems cost, but I'm, upwards of maybe $20,000 for a repeater system.
So it could
So
be,
it's a big spectrum, and where that falls in there, price-wise, I know we haven't priced anything out yet. We're right in the initial stages of trying to figure out,
No,
okay,
that's
where
fine.
are the spots, and, our antenna could be retrofitted with a new whip at the top that has 4 modules on it, kind of, that can be directional. So if you're having an issue on the west side, they can be focused more to the west than the east and the south, that type of thing. It's the paging's the main concern, that we're getting our tone, and then obviously communications between the mobile units and people coming in is another big step to it too. So, once we get the survey from Wells and we find out where they are, I imagine they're gonna have a list of suggestions with dollar amounts as well.
I'm gonna raise it again, to see what the cost of getting that siren to work might be. I know
don't
Joe
know what
doesn't
we
like that
have.
idea.
I don't know what we
But
have for
if
issues
we
with the
have
siren.
no grant monies available right now, and if this comes in with too big a budget hit, I mean, so we have to nibble away at this over 15 months or so, I'm wondering if maybe that would help.
Different towns are set up different ways too, and
Yeah.
Wells brought that up, based on how it's set up. Manchester, when they get a tone, I believe their tone goes into their base radio, gets broadcasted out, but it also trips the
It
siren
trips the
in town.
siren, so I know every
Yeah.
call.
So that way, if you don't get the page, you hear the siren, and that's kind of like how we used to be set up, I believe, back when we had phones and no radios, no pagers.
Right,
The
right.
siren was, the majority of people that were on the department had worked at Stanley or right here local,
Yeah,
and they heard the siren, they knew to come to the firehouse,
Yeah.
so.
Yep.
There's advantages to that and disadvantages.
disadvantages.
I mean, it's all in what.
But they do carry.
They
That-
do,
that
they
siren
do.
does
I mean,
carry.
it's not gonna get, Shaftsbury Hollow, or it's not gonna get, Glossenbury, but it's here in the area of town it would.
Yeah.
But that's kind of, Joe's call on how he wants to use that. I can't really speak for him.
So we'll just have to wait and see how this goes.
Yep, yeah.
Okay, thanks, Jerry.
And you're welcome. Any questions on the generator thing while you got me here? or-
No,
Well, we
Good on
have,
that.
okay,
I don't think we have questions. I
Or
think we
any-
got a plan.
okay, that's good.
Moving
I
forward.
talked to them about our conversation earlier today.
Okay, good.
Okay,
Everybody's up to
so-
speed on that
yeah.
and everything.
So we,
Good.
So we're
so I
making
think we'll,
progress.
think we'll be
Excellent,
good.
yep. Okay.
Thanks,
Very
thanks a
good.
lot,
Thanks, Joe.
Jerry. Take care, you too.
All right, so the purchasing policy, we have the shop pickup has failed, and the cost to repair is,
In excess of $3,000.
is.
You want me to get it for
No,
you?
I-
I know you're injured.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are. What was it you were doing?
I had a frontal tobotomy.
Tabata?
I had a frontal tobotomy. Okay, so, the shop pickup truck has failed. It's a $3,000 repair cost. The truck, is what, a 98?
It's got 200,000 miles on it.
Yeah.
250,000.
250,000.
And Terry has,
Some better days.
He's been nursing it for a year now.
right, but Terry has an idea for replacing it with another used vehicle. Do you have the information on that? Marky?
That particular one, no, but he had worried that it was gonna exceed the 3,000 limit,
Okay.
on the purchasing policy. So we have to decide, are we gonna allow sole source purchasing? Or
I thought it was $3,500.
go just authorize a purchase above 3,500?
No, the vehicle, he found a potential replacement vehicle, the cost of which is $4,000.
Yeah.
It includes, that price includes a small snowplow that could be used, not probably sufficient to plow all the streets in town or anything like that, but it could be used used lots, or as a short-term backup if, you know, a vehicle was down for, you know, a flat tire for for a few hours or something. He also did, he searched or contacted or visited several used car lots in the area here, was not able to find anything of a comparable vehicle to the one that he found locally here, even remotely close to the $4,000 price tag for a comparable vehicle, mileage, equipment, etc.
And who's offering the vehicle?
I believe the vehicle is owned by Phil Harrington.
Okay. It's four-wheel drive?
It's four-wheel drive. It's a Chevy. It's a year newer than the vehicle that we have currently, but with far less miles. Great condition, or, you know, very good condition. More than sufficient to meet the needs that the current vehicle was facing. It's used basically as kind of the go-getter to move, you know, to back and forth, you know, pickup, doing what pickups do, but it also is used, it's even more importantly, it's used for the rake that's used in the grading process in the summer. It has a hydraulic system on it, can easily be retrofitted so that the fittings can be run to the rear of the vehicle to operate the hydraulics on the rake.
Okay. So the town's purchasing policy is if the town administrator has authority to make a direct purchase up to $3,000. And then between $3,000 and $10,000, we have to solicit
Estimates,
prices from reputable sources.
hopefully written.
And then if it's greater than $10,000, we put it out to bid. So the question is whether or not we've essentially met the spirit of the policy by having Terry check with local dealers for an available truck that would meet the town's needs. And if so, you know, for the select board to determine that the road foreman has satisfied the purchasing policy and to go ahead and authorize the purchase of the replacement truck for $4,000. Now, this would not, while this is not a budgeted expense, essentially we did not have gravel available this summer due to the bypass project, and we're grossly underspent on gravel. And so using $4,000 worth of gravel money towards the purchase of this replacement truck would not impact the amount of grading and gravel work we did in the spring. So I'd like a motion to approve the purchasing of the truck for $4,000.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor of authorizing the purchase of the shop pickup for the price of $4,000 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? It's unanimous vote. Okay. The town highway access ordinance. Okay, has everybody had a chance to review the draft?
Yes.
And has everybody seen comments from the DRB? I'm just gonna pull them up again. I think they came in towards the end of last week.
I
Actually, I'm not
Did
sure.
you get those?
I didn't see
I
any.
don't think I got
I don't believe I have those.
Okay,
That's not good. Unless they're saying that they think
didn't
they're
get
great.
Did they have a lot of comments?
we had a handful.
No, then I did not get that.
Okay, send it to you now.
Wow, I have it now.
That was fast. This is an arm's length away.
Okay, 1C, they want to add the word, proposed town road. Let me see, I've got to pull this up. Oops.
Or is it
Well, 1C, I don't think has anything to do with proposed town roads.
No, I'm not finding a place where that would work.
Because it, 1C has to do with, authorizing the road foreman, zoning administrator, and the DRB to review and determine the conditions under which access onto a town highway shall be allowed
Right,
for driveways and roads. It only deals with actual
right.
laid out roads, so, okay. The next one was for 2A.
Roman numeral 2A,
Yeah.
page 1.
I think, maybe the way to, take care of that issue is,
What is the issue?
well,
He wants to add trails
they're
So-
thinking,
to
they're
this.
thinking that class 4 roads may not be town highways.
So basically, they're saying,
Class 4?
Yeah.
access to a Shaftsbury Town highway or trail. Class
So-
4 road or whatever
They're equating a trail and a class 4 road.
They're totally different. Not in function, because they provide access, but as far as ownership goes.
What?
Well, a class 4 road is, we're not
It's public
required,
It's public right of way.
it's a public right of way, but the distinction between it and a 2 and a 3 is that we're not required to maintain class 4 roads.
Right.
Correct.
We
Right.
are required to maintain class 3, class 2, and class 1. So one option is simply to add a new section A. If folks want to have the highway have people get a permit for access to a trail, is just to say that what the term town highway means. So it would be something like, for purposes of this ordinance, the term town highway includes roads classified as class 1, class 2, class 3, class 4, and trail.
Legal trail.
You want to say legal
Yeah,
trail?
legal.
Yeah, not trail.
Yeah.
And that way, then anytime the word town highway is used,
It
we're
includes it.
referring to all these classifications.
But a legal trail is not a town highway. So we don't have responsibility at all for any kind of maintenance, including installation of driveway culverts or ditches or anything.
Right.
So
But if somebody wants to build an access onto a trail,
a legal trail,
they would have to get
up,
authorization from, through this ordinance.
okay,
That's the principle at issue. That's what we're
Yeah,
talking
Right,
about.
right.
yeah.
And I
the-
think that's valid. I
To
think that's-
expand the permitting review to, from town highways to include legal trails. I'm thinking out loud.
Right.
anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, it could be that, you know, they're not gonna have to build a full driveway if it's only, if they're going, say, from the back part of their parcel onto a trail. They may just want to put a path that leads to the trail or whatever. I mean, it seemed to
Yeah.
me,
Sorry.
you know, the requirements could be very different for access to a trail.
But that's right, and I'm almost wondering whether it should be totally separate. I mean, because you're talking about standards B71 and to B-Trans standards for Class 3 town highways and above as the technical standards
Yeah.
for approval of curb cuts, but that,
Would not
those are for
apply.
Class 3 highways, and even B-Trans would say those aren't for legal trails,
That's
so-
not that's overkill for access to a legal trail.
Well,
Or it wouldn't even, I think what
may
Margie's
not
saying,
be. It may not be, depends on the standards of construction that the adjacent property owners have agreed to maintain, to which they have agreed to maintain. Because we don't maintain it, it would be under private maintenance and repair agreements, whatever. I've seen some legal trails in some towns that are superior in condition than Class 3 or Class 4 roads. It's by virtue of the dollars, deep pockets of landowners, who they want coming to and from their properties. And
So you're suggesting if we're gonna deal with the access to legal trails, that we do a completely separate ordinance?
I'm not, I wanna, there's some flags that are, I mean, I've read flags, simply because what you're gonna end up, well, I just don't know to what standard. Secondly, are we inviting conversation sooner than we would like about taking over private roads? Or a legal trail that is classified as such? I just
Or-
don't know.
We're not dealing with any private road.
No, a legal
Trail is not
unless
a-
we map it and retain it as a public right of way. But there's legal trails that, as I understand it, revert back to private ownership, they're still called a legal trail. But unless we've agreed to map them, my understanding, Lon, was it's not a public right of way, it's not a town highway.
Right.
So
A
the-
legal
the-
trail and a private road or private right-of-way are two separate things. A legal trail is a public right-of-way. A private road or private right-of-way is private, by definition.
Well, I can't argue with an attorney, because I've heard different definitions. That a legal trail, in the case of a legal trail, the ownership of that column of land reverts down the center line back to the adjacent property owners. And that was the
I think-
definition that I had heard.
Okay. There are many town roads where the town does not own the roadway, but they own the right-of-way, and that the property owner's land goes to the center line. So, the town still has the right to control access to its right-of-way, because it's trying to maintain the integrity of the right-of-way and the safety of the public. A legal trail, thinking back to the Ancient Roads Committee and their work, legal trails had to be identified and added to the map in order for the town to retain that public right-of-way. We have a number of trails, maybe half a dozen, give or take, that have been mapped. And so those are the only legal trails that this would apply to. If there's a private road, then that's,
So these are gonna, yeah, so these are gonna be mapped.
these are outside of, those are outside of the town's jurisdiction. Only the,
Yeah, okay, so it's all equivalent to public ownership now.
right. So, but you do raise another valid point, which is, very valid point, which is, this ordinance goes to a very, definite set of standards for, a curb cut and access. And do we really need that for a legal trail? And so, you know, maybe we want to, deal with that completely separately. And, if we want an ordinance for that, maybe deal with that later, or come up with some separate provision for it, but not hold up this curb cut ordinance.
I would suggest that.
I think that's a good idea.
How do you feel about that, Mark? You okay?
I would say, let's not hold this up, but in so doing that we do need then, somehow to address curb driveway permits for,
Legal trails.
and maybe have a waiver provision
Or-
from D71 standards
Yep,
for width.
yep.
It wouldn't be angle of intersection, it wouldn't be depth or location of culvert. To me, it's width, because if you're in the hinterlands, you're gonna be dealing with narrower travel ways anyway.
Yep, that makes sense to me.
And we're getting, if I'm thinking of the west side, you're dealing with potentially steep access points. So you're gonna wanna maintain a landing at your intersection for a minimum of whatever we say.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you're gonna slide, as that poor soul in town of Sharon slid down that road onto the railroad track. And it wasn't enough of a landing.
Okay, so I'll add that paragraph A that says, for purpose of this ordinance, the term town highway includes roads classified as class 1, class 2, class 3, and class 4 highways.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. And then we'll come up with a provision for trails. And then I'll change the lettering of the, remainder of the section. So it's now A through E instead of A through D. Okay, section 5, 2 through 5, adding specific distances for the required inclusions of items such as culverts and driveways in the sketches. Numbers 2 through 5.
What was the comment, the DRB comment? This should be revised 12/16.
A site plan, survey plat map, or scale drawing showing the location of the proposed access point,
Yes, yes.
site
Site
distances,
distances, yeah.
location, okay. And their comment is, adding specific distances for the required inclusions of items such as culverts and other driveways in the sketches. For example, equal to the line of sight distances of 100 to 250 feet.
Yeah, V-Trans does have site distances by speed limit. And though there are standards for that. So this could be, yeah, certainly for sub 2. Site plan, scale drawing showing. I don't know why. How can we get more specific about location of nearby driveways? Location. What's the concern again?
Well,
they wanna know the distances, I think it says location of
Distances?
existing, so,
Well, you have to measure. What the, engineer would do, what surveyor would do is just scale a drawing.
right,
Uh,
well, location and distances, I mean, I would think that that would include,
you could do that in a narrative.
unless they feel that it's important to, you know, state the actual,
The distance between
Right.
point A and B.
right,
Yeah.
right, that the, you know, a driveway should be at least 50 feet from an intersection, or whatever.
Well,
Or are they trying to say that they have to, that the site plan has to be broader? You just can't say, you know, just have be a picture of the end of the particular access that you're building, showing, you know, its width and length, that it needs to show things 50 or 150 feet away.
well, if this says the location of the proposed access point, site distances from the proposed access point up and down the town highway, location distances of nearby driveways and road intersections, so that's the distance from the access point to the, and then I can add the word and distance, words and distances to location and distances of existing culverts and ditches, including direction of water flow. And I can add those same words, so it says location and distances of brooks, streams, and water courses, including the direction of water flow. So that should take care of that.
Okay.
And put two sub II.
Numbers,
We'll
small
have to-
7.
Maybe Tyler could do some research about, the site distances,
Why?
because they do vary by speed limit, by speed zone. So for 25-mile-an-hour roads, it would be X, for 35-mile-an-hour
Oh,
roads.
yeah.
On a curve or whatever, it's gonna be X.
When he's gonna grant the permit.
That's, yeah, that would be part of the
Right,
individual
does that
permit.
need to be in here,
Well, that's what I was wondering if
or-
it needed to be here. I think they wanna know the distance, the clear zone, how far you should be able to see either way. For cars coming at you at X speed. And so what Terry would have to do is go out and measure to make sure.
Yeah,
But that would be part of the individual permit. So if they were applying for a permit
Okay,
onto
do it
7
that way.
or onto
Right, I would
East
think-
Road,
They would
They-
have,
they would have
Terry
that.
would have this, Tyler would
Okay.
have, they would know what their, and whether the actual distance meets the requirements.
We want to make sure we have that. Site distances need to be in conformance with,
okay, that would come up under the, construction and final approval, that's the process, inspections, minimum design requirements.
yeah, that would be where you put
that
that.
space. It's really only F2 that deals with site distances, and it's really loose.
Maybe
It is very loose.
maybe reference the site distance to state regulations.
I think it should
Yeah.
be.
That's a good
Well,
I don't,
there's a reference to that in, the very beginning. The state regs are cited up at the very
Oh,
top.
okay.
Yeah,
There you go.
standards for resident, yeah. Yeah. Town officials will be guided by the standards.
Yep.
okay, so,
Yeah.
then I think we're okay.
Yep, because then, there's a provision that the, road foreman, can set conditions.
Right, that's right, that is in there.
Okay, they wanna replace, oh, they want me to correct typography with topography.
yeah.
And the Wordsmith
And there's
would
another
use
one,
typography.
Line 2, section 4. We just got a couple little.
Where is typography?
Oh, that's over,
It says 6. V6.
5.
5, number 6?
Yeah, 5, number 6.
Section 5?
Yeah,
A6?
yeah, page 3.
Yep. Okay.
Back under,
And then they want slope replaced by grade. Is everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Okay. And then depth of large gravel required may be excessive if customary top layer of finer material is added.
depth of required gravel, inclusive of top dressing, or the top layer would be what? Sorry.
Driveways within the limits of the town right-of-way for paved town highway shall have a minimum depth of 12 inches of gravel or crushed stone. And the DRB is saying that the depth of large gravel required may be excessive if customary top layer of finer material is added.
So they're basically saying if it says that we have to have 12 inches of this, if they put it in that customarily there's 2 inches of finer material, it actually requires they have 14 inches of driveway, as I'm understanding it.
So we're asking for too much?
I think
Is
that, I
is
think
what
that's
we're
what I'm,
getting at?
that's
We
what
don't
I'm
need that
getting.
much?
Well, this again should be in conformance with
The excessive,
standards
Yeah, I'm-
for construction.
This is dealing with access not to gravel roads, but to paved town highways.
Mhm.
And so I think they're different. Plus, they're gonna have to have that skirting. And we don't want the skirting to,
Fall away.
not have a sufficient base. So, this is something that, these technical, requirements were recommended by the planning commission verbatim. I didn't change any of this.
I think, while the comment is well taken, I tend to agree that this would only apply to, places attaching to paved highways, and I'd rather have the standards be a little more stringent.
So any other comments, questions, discussions, concerns? Maggie?
I had just typos, just a few little ones.
Okay.
All right, page 1, paragraph 3,
Okay.
which is paragraph C.
The second will be right there. We need to quickly accept all these changes we've just made, so it cleans up. Okay, page 1.
It's a question of what we want to say. Are we, line 2, conditions under which access onto, it's either gonna, should read town highways or a town highway. Right now, we have onto a town highways.
Where? Section 1, section 2.
Section 1, paragraph C, line 2. The Select Board hereby authorizes the foreman, the ZA, and the DRB to review and determine the conditions under which access onto, and my copy says A town highways.
Oh, yeah.
I
Town
think
highway.
just take the A out of there, maybe?
Or the yes.
Either one.
Okay, I'll take out the A.
Line, let's see. Paragraph, section 4.
Just a second.
I'll let you
I'll
do
be
that.
right there. Okay.
Section 4, paragraph A, line 2, shall hold, just get rid of the underscore, hold underscore harmless.
Oh, yeah, there is something.
Wait, 4B?
4, paragraph
Oh,
A,
yeah.
line 2. Fourth
Just a
line.
second, just a
Sorry,
second, just a
sorry.
second. This is not going well. To get this little thing out of here. Okay. Now.
We don't probably have to spend a lot more time editing in a public meeting. We can
Right.
just continue editing. There's just a couple of other little things on. And then, but in the interest of time,
You might wanna just combine them.
yep.
Just a second. Okay, what's the next one? I wanna get something fast tonight.
Yeah,
Done.
okay, well, it's just at the end of that particular sentence, it just has 2 periods. Shall hold harmless.
Well,
no
that
very-
one was really tough to stop, so I had to put 2 periods in there.
Make sure it ended.
Okay, next.
Okay. Well, that was really it. And then the only other marks I have, I think you already made changes. I just made note of where the changes were to be.
Okay.
Now, did you want to go down through the sections? Were you have track changes left, Lon?
I beg your pardon?
Well, I had made notes from other.
I,
You probably have all these changes. You had noticed.
just show me one and I'll take a look.
Yeah.
Just pick a section 7.
Did you already accept all those changes?
Inspections is plural, yeah. What's next?
Did you pick up reference to, you're gonna add B71, the road fund, I got it back to C.
The applicant is responsible for coordinating the site inspection with the road foreman when all construction of the owner's access is complete, consistent with the requirements of section 3 notification.
Okay.
The property owner shall permit the road foreman to conduct whatever inspection the road foreman deems reasonably necessary to determine if the access has been constructed consistent with the terms and conditions of the preliminary access permit. What-
I think you got it.
Okay. Any other? What's the pleasure of the board?
What was the ultimate strategy on legal trail provision?
We're not including that in the definition of the town highway. And
Okay.
we'll have to come up with, an amendment to this
Right.
ordinance.
Right.
Later, after we've reviewed the issue.
Okay.
So do you want a motion to accept
To adopt.
to adopt the new town highway access ordinance
As amended.
as amended? Or is there
Well-
a different type of language that you'd like for the motion?
Okay, yeah, no, I think that's right, as amended tonight. So yes, is there, that's, the motion is should, the select board adopts, the proposed, town highway access ordinance, as presented tonight with the amendments agreed to by the board.
Second.
And that's seconded by Craig. Any discussion? There being none, all those for adopting the town highway access ordinance as amended tonight by the board signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, it is,
Let me hear a big sigh, Lon. Thank you
Okay, what
very
I have
much.
to
You're
do
welcome.
is now I have to do the legal warning of adoption for ordinances.
okay, now, we can write on this, it's been adopted.
Yes. Adopted today, and then it goes into effect 60 days later.
Adopted,
So 1/7/13. Yep, January 7.
effective,
It'll be
March.
60 days after.
so, March 8th. Okay.
If it's not appealed.
Okay, and then I'll just, clean up the formatting and send it to you, Marty.
Great.
Okay. Just wanna save this before I lose it. Okay, the next item on the agenda is, we've dealt with the emergency management generator, during the budget work session. Seems like we're on track with that, so. Town administrators report?
Okay. I just wanted to bring you up to date on the fact that every 5 years, I believe it is, we have to have what's called a sanitary survey conducted by the state water supply division of the infrastructure that's part of our water system. They look at our operations and maintenance manual. They make sure that our sampling is all in compliance with the frequency that's identified each year. They look for any procedures and policies that we might approve upon. And we got an outstanding performance. We got an A+, thanks to our superintendent.
Yay, Joe.
There were a couple of recommendations for the future regarding installation of backflow protection devices, and but I just thought that the select board should know that that has come through. And the 7A intersection discussions are to the point where we now have a working signal on the Route 7A bridge. Tim Scoggin had to point that out to me today because I don't travel during school hours. But that flasher is now operational 30 minutes before school opens in the morning and 30 minutes after that time. And similarly in the afternoon, we'll have a flasher warning people of the crosswalks up ahead. The one portable sign that we've been putting on the center line by the country store isn't out every single day, but we still have that. And I think it doesn't make it out there every day if the crew has to be out plowing or whatnot. The latter part of this was the concern about the speed limit through the village and the request that we try to reduce from 35 to 25 miles per hour. And we asked for a 2-week notice as to when the traffic committee at the state level would meet to hear our appeal and our request to have that speed limit lowered, so we will get that notice. We've had a lot of dialogue internally about the heating system, primarily the thermostat system in the building, because we've had several power outages, and what happens is that the software scheduling resets every time you have a power outage, so the thermostats have no idea really what schedule they should be on, so you cannot get heat, but we have no way of accessing that controller. And so, and because we have a remote consultant that we cannot reach, we're looking at ways to improve access digitally and through the network to that module. And we're also, looking at the costs of replacing that module and backing up and returning to a more simplified thermostat system, which would be manually operated. Of course, there's the option of the old programmable thermostat, which we used to have, but Bill Christian has recommended that we consider what might be called a 2-stage thermostat, which has some of the attributes of the controller that's now in place, but is not so sophisticated. We would have to look at the wiring component and requirement for that, which might, it sounds like if we stick with the approach that we have now or move to the 2-stage thermostat, he's looking at trying to upgrade to 3 wires at our thermostats instead of 2 wires. So that's been an ongoing discussion. RCS was here this morning just to try to get a thumbnail sketch together as to how we could bring this little BACnet controller that's down in the boiler room that's doing all this thinking, but then comes to a grinding halt as affected by power, how we could get that connected in a way to a desktop so that some of us in Cole Hall could just get on that laptop or on the desktop and hit reset or adjust the schedules, or that Bill Christian could do from wherever he's traveling. The only issue so far is that we need an older computer that still runs XP, Windows XP. And I thought we could use my old PC, but we can't remember the password. So we have a PC, but, so they're looking at ways right now with RCS to figure out how we could get that up and running.
I have one you could use.
So,
I don't remember the password.
okay. I think we need to make sure that this is really gonna solve the issue. It's hard to know when the system goes down. You can presume that it was the IT failure, you know, just the chip, and get the reset. But there's also the chance that it could be mechanical. And so one of the must-dos is for our consultant to be able to devise a way so that we can troubleshoot to identify which direction to go in. And I do know we've all had it up to about here. And he does need to look at ways to, for instance, today, the temperature on the second floor remained in the 60s, upper 60s, and downstairs were at 75 or 2. So there's some fine tuning still. So that's going on. Website discussions, I haven't moved forward with anything at the moment. It's mostly trying to get town report and budget to bed and landfill sampling.
There's
Any
a
other
zoning
questions?
bylaw amendment, the open space subdivision. We
Needs
have
to get
to,
back onto our agenda here.
okay, and does that have to be a public hearing?
Yes, but before we went to hearing, we were still having a discussion theoretically with our town attorney about certain provisions.
Okay.
And,
Does the board need to meet with their town attorney to get advice directly about it?
it might be, but a good discussion.
Okay.
If we try to get Rob here.
Yeah, let's try to get Rob here and set it up for the next regular meeting.
Okay.
And then the Vermont.
Next regular meeting, so on the
Yes.
21st.
Yeah. And then the Vermont State Police, the Neighborhood Watch, that was listed on the agenda.
And we need a special meeting date because he cannot do Monday, Tuesdays.
Okay.
And I know you've been meeting so frequently, this sounds like it's gonna be a post-town meeting discussion.
Yeah, it sounds that way. Okay. Any questions for Margie? No. Okay. Other business, Craig?
None.
Karen?
No.
Margie, other business we need to do tonight?
Yes, the delinquent tax collector approached me about the Grange. He is, I guess the tax status of the Grange, they have an exemption.
Oh, it's up this year.
And it's up this year, and so they're petitioning, trying to gather signatures, which is a chore, but he wanted to know, there are one of two ways to get the article onto the warning, and that was whether the board, under its own initiative, would agree to place that question on the ballot, or if the Grange should continue to gather signatures. I have a copy of the actual article downstairs on my desk.
How many signatures do they need to collect?
Well, it's 5% of whatever a voter registration is. I just think somebody must have reminded him that the select board might have done this in the past at some point. I just don't, I
Done what in the past?
placed the article on the,
Oh, sure.
Warning.
Oh, yeah,
that we just agree that we're gonna,
Okay.
or not, I don't.
I don't have a problem with that. It's been supported more
Yeah,
often than
yeah.
not.
Right.
There was one year it was not supported by the townspeople, but in the last 5 years, but it's been supported other years.
Right. I don't have a problem putting it on the ballot.
So could I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we place the request for tax exempt status for the Grange as a question to the voters.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Carries unanimously.
Sorry, now that I've just said that, and we just voted on it, do we need to stipulate a time frame for that? That would carry for 5 years, or?
No, that would be on their petition.
I think it's by, they've
No,
got the
they're not-
language, and
they're
I
not-
think it's by statute. But, or is it not? Do you have discretion? I honestly, I'm
don't
out of
know.
this.
I don't know. It's always been for 5 years. We've done it in 5 years.
Yeah.
Anybody who voted in favor of motion can vote for reconsideration.
Okay.
So if you want to rescind it, just make a motion to rescind the motion.
Or could we amend it?
Well, just rescind it,
All right,
make a new one.
I'll rescind the motion.
Okay, do we have a second to
Yes.
rescind? Okay, all those in favor of rescinding signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. It's unanimous. No opposed, no abstentions. So the motion would be that, as I understand it, Karen, from what you've just said, that the Grange would be placed on the ballot for approval by the voters as a tax exempt entity for a period of 5 years,
Yes.
beginning fiscal year 2014.
That's right, yes.
I'll
Does-
second.
Okay. Okay, so Karen made the motion, Craig seconded. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, any other business, Marky?
I don't think so.
Okay. There's always Saturday. We are going to be meeting again at another budget meeting Saturday morning, 9 o'clock. We have minutes of December 13th.
Motion to approve?
Second?
Any changes?
Hold on, I got my minutes.
There being none, all those in favor of approving the December 13th minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Carries unanimously. Then we have December 17th minutes.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? Changes, additions, corrections?
Didn't see anything.
There being none, all those in favor of approving the December 17th minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Carries unanimously. Then we have minutes for December 22nd.
Not yet.
Motion to approve?
Not yet.
No, you haven't, you don't
How
have
about
those.
January 3rd?
And January 3rd, those two are coming.
All right. Warrants. We have payroll warrant 18R. It's a retirement warrant for $134.94.
Motion to approve?
Second?
Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor of approving payroll warrant 18 for $134.94 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Carries unanimously. Now we have payroll warrant 17R for $6,032.36.
Motion to approve?
Second?
Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor of approving payroll warrant 17R signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Carries unanimously. And we have payroll warrant 26, $10,406.89.
Motion to approve?
Second?
Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor of approving payroll warrant 26 signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Carries unanimously. Then we have payroll warrant 27 for $9,370.87.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor of approving payroll warrant 27 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Carries unanimously. And then we have check warrant 18.
You've got your community appropriations.
$90,864.15.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, we're buying salt, probably 37, 49, $7,300 for that. Bennington Regional Commission dues of $4,442. John Ray and Sons, $5,800.
Diesel.
Diesel.
Our diesel deliveries are coming in at a very competitive cost.
Okay.
I'm pleased with them.
That's great.
Collins, $1,498. Is that for gas?
Yeah.
And those are the biggies. Everything else is the appropriations.
What are we putting gas into? Regular gas?
No, it's diesel.
Aren't we diesel? So why aren't we using diesel here? Why are we going
Was it
forward?
I
during the,
think there was a time
Maybe
when,
switchover time?
yeah, when they were
Okay.
switching tanks.
Okay. That would make sense.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve? There was. There was a second. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor of approving check warrant 18 signify by saying aye.
aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Carries unanimously. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
My train of thought just flew out the window.
So are we, if we're gonna meet with budget on Saturday morning, what are you thinking about next Monday night? Would we need a special that night? Can we hold off till the regular meeting? If we met, would it just be budget?
Monday is not gonna work really
That would be
well
the
for me next week.
14th.
Not that that means the rest of you can't, but
There's no need for MSK to get a hold of you.
I mean, we should be pretty close with the budget.
Yeah, I think so too. I am waiting to hear back from bond counsel. He was the only one that was gonna be sending a checklist. He did not communicate today. That we need to do, but it's primarily, February is gonna be the active month for
Moving through that.
dotting
stuff.
i's and crossing t's as
Yeah.
far as warnings.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any chance on Saturday that we could meet, instead of meeting early, we could possibly meet in the early afternoon? Like around two-ish? I mean, I would, normally I would too, but
This
I'm
commitments.
in one of these time frames right now. I just
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
lot of things lining up that all seem to be on what few days there are that we all can meet here too.
Or do you wanna push it out till Monday night, the 14th? But, oh, then you can't be here.
No, I think, and this is the core group that's,
Yeah.
it's been really spending most of the time on the budget, so, that's fine, 2 o'clock's fine. Is that,
Fine with me.
Yeah, 2 is good.
2 is good for me.
Karen?
Yep.
I don't know, I'm assuming we're having a relatively finite,
I feel like we're making whatever final adjustments are, and we're shipping the budget to everyone, and then, we can approve it on the 21st formally, right?
Oh, I think Bob wants to see me from that. But let's confirm.
Yeah. I mean, we'll need
And
to
I
talk
thought
about
his-
some
yeah,
budget
he needed
notes
to
and
get-
stuff.
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
No, I have to start writing those. But
right.
typically I've been, have I? I'm trying to remember. I think I've passed them around after it's all written.
Yeah.
But, you know,
That's
we,
right,
we
that's
can
good
help
for
with that.
proofing.
but we also, I mean, if we're talking about getting something in for the
Add
town
this.
garage, for the,
I better notify him that he's gonna have to add some pages.
yeah.
It won't be new pages this
We
year
had pages
because
last year.
we had special pages on the town garage.
Right,
But you may wanna have suggested floor plan and then a copy of the site plan, or,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yep,
Yep.
so what do you, I'm
And,
thinking probably 3 pages?
for
1, 2 for schematics, and
2 for
then 2 for comments.
information.
Yeah.
Right.
And
we'll
then-
need to alert Jim to that fact too.
Right.
Jim and Jason, because, you know, we're gonna need that in the next, as they're working on the cost estimate.
But I don't think they're gonna have those done maybe in time to go to print, but Bob could reserve the pages.
They'll have them by January
We'll see.
25th.
Yeah. That's.
And the 25th is close to my deadline for getting my
Right.
stuff in.
Yeah.
But we could even, yeah, and I mean,
I think we're
we know
okay.
enough at this point on the garage that, you know, even now, if we asked them to sort of draft a narrative or outline, or we could do it with what we have,
Oh, yeah,
in terms of talking about the particulars,
yeah, pros and
sizes,
cons.
so. Yeah, yeah.
The other thing is if we could talk to them about its position in the book.
Yeah, I'd like it back up front. Shouldn't be at the end.
You mean the garage?
The budget.
Yes.
Oh, the budget.
But I think the garage too should be closer to the front of the book.
And I think, Oliver was right. You know, it should be at the beginning of the presentation,
Hmm.
town meeting. Yeah.
Well, it's Tom's meeting to
Soon as
run,
early.
so I'd have to sit down with
Right.
him and,
Right, go over the agenda. Yeah. Yep. Okay.
before we get into compensation for the elected officials and all that stuff. Okay. Okay, so we have some writing to do. So do you want to take a stab at a first draft of bullet points? Just take the old
For
one.
the garage?
Yep, yep.
Do you have the needs assessment? I have that, that I can email it to you.
Okay,
So it's just sort of
yeah,
cutting and pasting bullet points.
yeah. I'm sure I have it somewhere, but if you have, do you have it here
Yeah, I think so.
electronically?
Yep.
Mark,
My homework's done.
yeah, I will do that.
Okay, so is there any other business that we need to conduct tonight?
No.
Okay, then a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, everyone.
Second.
You heard.
Thank you, Dan.